Today's automotive adventure isn't going to feel like much of an adventure at the outset, and I hope it stays that way. But adventure creeps up in the most unsuspecting places in the form of broken parts, not the right tools, parts you can't get to, all kinds of things. You never know when it might creep up. We need to replace a battery on this car. Again, doesn't sound super adventurous, but we shall see. This is my nephew's car. My son called me a couple weeks ago. He and my nephew, also known as his cousin, needed some guidance on jump starting the car because the battery was dead. Now they're off on their winter break from college, having fun adventures of their own, and I decided to replace the battery in this car. Now when it comes to cars not starting, people get into all kinds of trouble. You know, people who want to be a driveway diagnostician, sometimes the first part or the first tool they buy is a parts cannon. I don't know how many times I've heard people say, my car wouldn't start, so I replaced the starter. Still wouldn't start, so I replaced the alternator. And it still wouldn't start, so I replaced the battery. Guesswork is not diagnostics, and you'll waste a lot of money doing that. So the car won't start. Some things you got to look at. With batteries, typically a battery is going to last 3 to 7 years, depending on the quality of the battery and your driving habits and the way you take care of it and the climate and all that type of stuff. If your car doesn't start, you get click, click, click. Typically happens, your battery's getting weak, and then you get a cold snap in the fall, or like right now, it's 18 degrees. Look at the battery. If the date on it is 3 years old or older, it's probably the battery. You can get batteries tested at your local car parts store. Do not jump to alternators and starters without getting your battery tested first. So this battery, I came out, car's click, click, click. I put my multimeter on it. It says 11.5 volts. I'm 100% sure it's the battery, but we're going to take a look at it before just replacing it. So let's take a look at the battery. Well, as you can see, the battery is right. The battery is right. It's right. Where's the battery? I see some couple points here where you can jump the battery. Hold on one second. I gotta go look at YouTube. So I just Googled Avenger battery replacement. Look at all the results. They're all YouTube, tons and tons of them. Oh, here's one, South Main Auto. A really good friend of mine loves their stuff. Says if you want to get some good how-to stuff, South Main Auto is a really good one to look at. Look at all these videos. So the world does not need more YouTube how-to videos on replacing an Avenger battery. I hope to give you some other bonus material. So I scanned a couple of the YouTube videos to find out that the battery is actually buried way down there. You can kind of see it there at the bottom. And you have to take off the driver's side tire and the inner fender liner to get to it. I had my battery charger on the Avenger for about an hour. Took it from 11.4 to 12.4 volts, and it still won't start. I'm just getting click, click, click out of it. So jumping it off the aviator. Got the hood prop 9000. It's so cold the shocks aren't even holding anything. Now that it's running, we'll test the output of the alternator, just the voltage output. As you see, it's putting out 14.7 volts. So the alternator is charging. Now, is it putting out enough amps? You have to have a real alternator tester to test that, but the point is, it is charging the battery. I pulled the car in the garage. It's it's 18 degrees outside. It's probably about the same inside, but it's starting to snow, and I figure if I can't get the job done, got to leave it overnight for some reason. Well, I'd rather do that in here. Tires off. This, I don't do how-to per se. If you need to know how-to, there's a lot of good videos out there on YouTube, but I got tire off. I got this inner fender liner out, and you can see the battery. We struck gold. I'm going to zoom in there on that date. As you see, November of 2018. Right now it's 2026. So this battery, well, it's the beginning of 26. So just say it's 25. This battery's lasted 7 years. It is at the end of its useful life. I'm actually pretty proud of it. Was it Duralast? I'm pretty proud that, or pretty impressed it lasted 7 years, but I'm going to dig it on out of there. Now, I told you the basic, easy repair turns into an adventure when you don't want it to. So I've broken 2 bolts already. There's this strap that holds this guy in here, holds the battery in, or maybe it actually probably protects it from stuff breaking off at the tire, but that bolt broke, and then the tie down, you get this the battery tie down dealio here, its bolt broke. So that one is essential. This one we could live without, but that one's essential. So now I went from replacing a battery to replacing broken bolts, and that's just the way it goes. Also, look at these terminals here on there. Look how rusty that thing is. I hope it doesn't break, and at least I need to clean it up. That is looking pretty rough. So that's how a easy job turns into an adventure. All right, now we're getting into the fun of it. The negative battery terminal in the back you can't see. I just started twisting on it, and it came right off. The positive one, there's 2 ways to get it off. Here's a nut I could loosen. As I do that, it starts to just crush the whole terminal. And when I did this other one, to loosen this, it just pivots the whole terminal up like it's going to break it. There's no nut or there's no hex head on the backside for me to grab onto. So chances are I'll probably end up destroying these, but then replacing them in the process because they're so bad anyway. I just hope that the parts store has, something like that in stock. I got that positive terminal off the battery just by putting my channel locks on there and twisting it. And now I'm disconnecting this terminal from the cable end. So I got vice grips on the back side, and I'm using my ratchet on the top side. Couple pro tips for you. Whenever you're dealing with something with rusty, use a 6-point socket because it's it's more likely to grip. The other pro tip is just don't live in Michigan, and you can avoid rust the best you can. It's all the salt they put on our roads. So that's the other pro tip for you. Got it out. I am so impressed with this battery. I'm going to get another one. I asked Siri who retails Duralast batteries, and she told me AutoZone. So I'm going to get in the zone, AutoZone. I'm going to get a couple of those too. So just thinking about this battery, there's probably some marketing guys sitting around saying, how do we make our battery sound like it's really going to be good? Well, I want it to say durable. Well, I want it to be long-lasting. Durable. Long-lasting. Well, let's put it together and call it the Duralast. I kind of like it. And it fits. It's not too long. I wonder if they have t-shirts. I would wear a Duralast t-shirt if I could find one. On this battery tray, I also need to try to get these broken bolts out to replace them. So I got one right there, and the one you can see the bottom of it right there, barely. So I'd like to try to get those out, especially this one down here, so that I can have the battery properly held down. So we're going to apply some heat to it and then vice grips and just see if we can walk that part out so we can properly replace it. I'll do the same with the other one. Well, with some heat, some penetrating oil, we're getting that bolt to turn. You can see the top of it turning right there. So it's loose, but I got to keep working it till it will actually back out. So I'm thinking of changing the name of my YouTube channel to How to Remove Broken and Rusty Bolts, because it seems like it's half of what I do. I got this one loose too. You can see there. I'm telling you, heat and WD-40, they work. I was a little more optimistic about this one coming loose because I had spun it a few times. I had loosened it, and it was coming out. And then when I decided it wasn't coming out fast enough, so I decided to put my impact on it. That's when it broke. But it had been coming loose, and it wasn't until the rusty threads got into the nut that it actually got stuck. So I was more confident this one would come out. So I'm going to work it out the rest of the way. So I'm first going to the hardware store to get a couple of replacement bolts for those broken bolts. Then we'll go to AutoZone to get the new Duralast battery and the terminal ends. I'm going to take this Aviator. I need to put some miles on it to kind of prove out that radiator before I sell it. I told my wife, keep her phone handy. And if I can't reach her, there's always AAA. That's what it's like driving this stuff. I'm back from the parts store, and I cleaned these ends up real good with my Dremel. I couldn't show you that on video because I only have one extension cord. I can't Dremel and use the light at the same time. I got these new ends, Duralast. They upsold me some of this battery installation spooge. It's like some felt and some juice, some grease and whatever. And I went to the hardware store, got a couple new bolts. So we are good to begin reassembly. It's important to note on these ends that, well, I thought one of them was bigger than the other. Yeah, the positive, one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. The posts on the battery are actually different diameter. These bolts on the old one were different diameters. They're the same here. But make sure you put the smaller one, if your battery has smaller negative post, on the right cable. Oh, look at that. The factory one, I mentioned this, the bolt was a smaller diameter, and this won't fit in there, so I've got to go get the drill it out. I put my vice grips on there to hold that, because what happens, if I'm holding this with my hand, right when that drill bit breaks through, at the very end, it's going to bind and it's going to spin this around and rip your fingers off. So you should hold it with something else. Oh, I thought I broke it. No, my vice grips just came off. I got to be careful though. I shouldn't push that too hard. If I break that cable, it'd be an all new adventure. So not quite as much pressure. Oh, see what I said about it twisting around? That's what happened. Okay, it works. I may do a final tighten of this once it's on the battery. I don't know if these do anything. They look cool. Like Christmas, red and green right there. Look at that. One thing I really battled hard with in the vehicle was how the cable attaches to these. First I attached these terminals to the cables and then tried attaching the battery, but then the length of the cable didn't allow the position I had, so I eventually just figured out the angle I needed on these, and then I took it out of the car, tightened these down, because you can't get a wrench to these in the car. Tighten these down. Now I'll put it back in and attach the cables to it. But that was kind of tricky. And I think these are cheap. I mean, these aren't the greatest terminals in the world either. These little light-duty steel guys here, but that's what we got. I buttoned it back up, put the tire on, and test started it, and it started. So If you want to change a battery in your Avenger, this is all you need. Just a jack and a jack stands, a breaker bar, sockets, wrenches, vice grips, half your garage, and don't forget your drill, your torch, and your Dremel tool and penetrating oil. That's all you need, and then about 3 hours of your time and a trip to the hardware store and AutoZone. That's all you need, and you too can change your battery. I know that on the automotive adventure scale, changing a battery ranks down here, but the placement of the battery and the corrosion that we faced did make it interesting. We didn't rebuild an engine here or restore a classic or rescue a car that's been off the road for 30 years. But what we are doing is keeping an aging vehicle running without spending an arm and leg on somebody else's labor. These are the kind of repairs you can do in your garage or your driveway. You do need basic tools and know-how, but most importantly, that creativity and perseverance to deal with the difficulties you are inevitably going to face on older cars with rust and corrosion and that type of thing. So now the best part of all, when my nephew gets back from his winter break tomorrow, we'll be able to surprise him with a bonus Christmas gift, a car that starts and runs. Thank you for hanging in there all the way to the end. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a comment or click subscribe. Even if you didn't like it, click subscribe anyway. Maybe next week's video will be better.